I don't even know how to start this video, man. Hi everybody, my name is Jay Bustin, also known as Let's Jays, and I have been creating gaming content on the internet for 10 years now. When I started 10 years ago, I did not think I would still be here 10 years in the future. It's been a fantastic journey. I'm not done. This is not my farewell video. This is just, we've been here for 10 years and I want to revisit where we started and talk about the future a little bit too. You know, this isn't like a deep dive on my past. This isn't a where I came from video. I'm not going to talk about my childhood or anything like that, but I am going to talk about where I was in life 10 years ago when I created my first YouTube video on youtube.com/letsjays. 10 years ago, I was in Bible college in Boston, Massachusetts at Boston Baptist College. I was a senior at the time. I had already done a year of culinary school and decided that that wasn't for me. I love to cook, but I didn't like cooking for other people. So I decided to just take my life in a different direction. I felt a calling to go into ministry, to be a pastor, and so I went to Boston Baptist College, a very local school to me, as someone who grew up in Massachusetts. And I knew that going to Boston Baptist College would allow me to continue to have my life in Massachusetts while still kind of follow the calling I felt at the time. Through my time there, I met a lot of friends. I explored a lot of fun hobbies. I got into video editing. My freshman year, I started this crappy YouTube channel. You can't find it anymore, but I'm not gonna say what it is just in case someone uses like a time machine to find it. Because I wanted to be YouTube famous. I saw YouTube as a cheap, easy way to make a lot of money, and I thought it would be kind of fun to get in on that. And so I started my own little talk show type thing, and it sucked and it was awful. And even though nothing became of that, it was still a lot of fun. I still learned a lot of things. I learned how to edit videos. I learned how to shoot a scene. I learned how to do all this sort of stuff. And me and one of my friends, Bobby, from college, we got into video work together. We kind of started to run all the video projects for our college, just the two of us. We would, we watched this show on YouTube back in the day called Weapons of Mass Production. That show does not exist anymore. It's on a defunct channel that it was deleted. But it was really cool. There was this guy, his name was Kevin. I don't remember what his last name was. But him and his friends basically taught you how to use what you have to make some cool videos. And we used to watch those and learn how to shoot good scenes and write good scripts and light a scene and all this other stuff. And we made some pretty cool content. I usually would run the camera. I would direct and produce and write and all the behind the scenes stuff, and Bobby would set the scenes with like the lighting, and he would do a lot of the acting, us and our friends, and we made projects for school. Like a lot of times in classes, they allowed you to get creative with things, so we would shoot video projects to kind of like, instead of writing a paper, we'd make a movie. At the same time, the president of our college asked us to film some promotional stuff for the school, and things like that. And so whenever there were like announcements to make, we would shoot a video and put that up on the school's portal and the school's Facebook page and stuff like that. And we had a blast doing that. It was a lot of fun. So fast forward to my senior year of college. I'm an RA, which is a resident assistant, which basically meant that I had the power to give out punishments, and I had to enforce the rules basically, and also help any of the men specifically. I was one of the men RAs. Help any of the men who needed help with things like, oh, hey, my bed's broken. It's like, okay, well, I got to be the one to facilitate that. I either fix it myself or get someone else. You don't care about this. But because I was an RA, I had my own private dorm room that was kind of away from everyone else's. And it got lonely because no one would come down the hall to hang out with me because I was just out of the way. And I was also a nerd. Also, I'm using a crappy background blur effect. And so whenever I move my head, it kind of sucks, but I didn't want to show off my crappy basement. So my senior year of college, I also worked security, which was an overnight position where you sat alone in the security booth and basically just watched the cameras and made sure no one was sneaking on campus to do something nefarious, like, drug deals and stuff like that. But it got lonely because you just sat in a room by yourself from 10 p.m. until 5:30 in the morning, and there was nothing to do. Like, I would do homework. I learned how to whistle. That was fun. But you run out of stuff to do real quick, and so I decided to start a new video project. And at the time, I had recently got back into gaming. I kind of walked away from gaming for a little bit early in my college career because I wanted to focus on my studies. But my senior year, I picked up a copy of The Legend of Zelda Skyward Sword, the 25th anniversary of Zelda edition. And that kind of got me back into gaming. And so I was like, well, why don't I make a gaming YouTube channel? And there were really a few different reasons to why I wanted to make a gaming YouTube channel. One was because, and the biggest reason was, video work allowed me to express myself creatively, which is not something I really ever had done before. I never saw myself as a creative person. I can't draw, I can't sing, I can kind of play some musical instruments, but not well enough to like be a musician, you know? And so a lot of the traditional creative outlets, like I wasn't really into photography, I wasn't really into painting or sculptures or anything like that. And so I was like, I'm just not a creative person. But with video work, I found a whole creative side of myself that I had never known before. And I loved that side of myself. And so this allowed me to be creative. And I really enjoyed video editing because I got to make everything my own. When you go back and you watch some of my old videos, even on content other people have covered in the past, like one of my favorite Let's Plays from back in the day that I did was Mario and Luigi Superstar Saga. I loved that Let's Play. I loved creating it. I loved playing the game. Just because I got to put myself into that project in a way that I don't think anyone else on the internet ever has. I'm not saying it's the best one out there, but it's mine, it's my own, and I will always look fondly back on that. So I wanted to be creative, and I wanted to express that creativity of myself. So yeah, long story short, I just wanted to be creative. Another part of why I wanted to do this is this wasn't a main motivation, but I never really got over that whole like, hey, you can make money off of YouTube thing. And that was, when you're in college, you're dirt poor, I never really saw myself as being a full-time YouTuber. That dream died very quickly. Back before I created Let's Jays on my other YouTube channels, I used to come back from class and watch like Mystery Guitar Man, Equals 3 with Ray William Johnson, Corridor Digital and Freddie W and those guys. And I was like, man, like if I could just get big on YouTube and move out to LA, that's what I want. And that dream quickly died. One, because I realized I don't ever want to live in LA ever. And two, and I didn't really want to be a YouTuber anymore. That kind of died out, but not in the sense of what YouTube was at the time anyway. So as my first semester of my senior year was winding down, we were getting ready for Christmas break, and I'm sitting in the library with my buddy Bobby, my video partner. And he's kind of involved in all of this. I was talking to him, after we'd worked on so many videos together, I was like, I want to start my own YouTube channel. And it's going to be, he was into gaming too. So I was like, it's a gaming YouTube channel, And so we were brainstorming names, and I came up with Jay's Plays or J Plays as my YouTube channel. And so I went to go start that YouTube channel, and it already existed. And back in those days, you couldn't have multiples of the same YouTube name. Like right now, you can go look up J Plays, and there's probably 50 different channels named J Plays. Back in the day, it was once you claimed a channel name, that was it. It was yours. And so the YouTube algorithm was like, oh, you can be like J Plays 1990 because that's the year you were born, or you can be J Plays 2482 because those are the 4 numbers we picked for you. And I personally hated having numbers at the end of screen names back in the day, or YouTube handles or whatever the heck. So I was like, all right, J Plays is out, J's Plays are out. Let's go with Let's Jays. That was kind of like my backup plan. And I wasn't crazy about it. I hated not getting the channel name that I wanted. but it worked. It worked. So Let's J started, and I think it was December 28th of 2012, I uploaded my first YouTube video, which was a channel trailer for my first Let's Play. And in that channel trailer, I remember it specifically, I actually filmed a good chunk of it while I was home for Christmas break. I was sitting on my couch at my mom's house when I filmed that opening sequence. And I was home alone. Everyone else had gone out like Christmas shopping or something like that. I had a real big problem filming content when other people were around, like being in front of the camera like this when other people were around. I felt insecure. I was new at it. I didn't like it. So I could only record or film when I was alone. So I had to make sure that I was all alone. And I started filming this thing, and it worked out well. I mean, going back and watching it now, it's garbage. It's bad. It's filmed with a terrible camera. I don't even know what I used for that camera because I didn't have my roommate's camera, so I don't even remember what I used. But it was bad, and this was before like smartphones. I think did I have a smartphone at this point? I think I had just gotten my first smartphone. But even back then, phones didn't really have good cameras. It was like, oh man, the new iPhone 2 has a 480p camera. Just punched my microphone. I'm sorry, microphone. But my first Let's Play I ever did, I didn't have any fancy equipment. I had a MacBook Pro. I saved up enough money to buy a blue snowball, which I still have in a box right over there. And that was it. That's all I had. And so I used the screen record function on my MacBook Pro to record myself playing Peasant's Quest, which is a Flash game over on HomestarRunner.com, which was a spoof of King's Quest. Peasant's Quest is still a fantastic game to this day. If you've never played it before, hop on over to HomestarRunner.com and play it. It's a good time. But I played through it. I 100%ed it in like 6 parts or something like that, and it was bad. I haven't gone back and watched it, but I remember parts of it. I remember learning how to be a Let's Player. I remember, like, what do I talk about? Do I talk about the game? Do we just kind of use this as an opportunity to talk about whatever? And just talk about, you know, philosophy or talk about politics or whatever. I tried everything. You know, I wanted to try everything. So my first Let's Play of Peasant's Quest was very much meh. And then for my next Let's Play, I wanted to play Portal. I had never played Portal before. And again, this was 2012, so like Portal 2 I think was pretty hot. And so I wanted to play Portal. And Portal cost $15 back then. And so I played Portal, the Flash version, which is like a 2D side-scrolling Portal. And it's, again, very bad. I had fun with the project. I even, that's when I really started to put edits into my videos. They were small, they were very subtle, but they were funny, and I enjoyed doing them. And every time I would make an edit, I would have to learn how to do it, because I stopped using, you know, with the MacBook Pro for a while, I was using, I forget the name of the Mac video, is it just iVideo? I don't remember what the name of it was, but I was using Adobe Premiere at this point. And I had to learn how to do everything, you know, and it was, I would record a YouTube video and then go on YouTube and learn how to edit these things I wanted to edit into the videos, you know? And I was learning a lot, and it was great. And by that point, I went out and bought my first capture card, which I still have. Oh, it's right here. Frick. Oh gosh. Get on the frickin' desk, man. It's plugged into my Nintendo 64 here, but it's the Elgato video capture. You can't read it because of the bright lights, but I mean, look at this thing. Oh my gosh, this background blur is not having it. I went out and I bought that so that I could start recording console gameplay, and it could only do standard definition. It didn't have HDMI support, but this was back in the day when the most modern Xbox was the Xbox 360. And you could plug that into that capture card. And that's how I made a lot of content. Like, I plugged a GameCube in there with a Game Boy player to make my Superstar Saga Let's Play, which was my first console Let's Play. And then me and my brother would record Portal 2 on the weekends, co-op mode. And that was a lot of fun too, you know. And that was the first time I ever recorded in a room with someone else. And my brother, shout outs to my brother, man, he made that fun. So at this point, I've been Let's Playing for about 5 months or so. And this is when I started to break out in the community a little bit. Not in a way as far as getting popular or anything like that, but I started to make friends, I guess, for lack of a better term, you know, on other people's YouTube videos or in people's live streams, because live streaming was very young at this point. Very, very young. I think it was still Justin TV instead of Twitch. But my name was recognized. Not like, I don't mean like I was popular or whatever, but like I would show up in the same chats often enough that instead of like, oh, hey, new guy, Let's Jays, it was like, oh, Let's Jays is here, you know? And so I started to make connections with other people, other viewers of other streamers, and I'll never forget, it was a YouTuber that I used to look up to. I still look up to. He's a great guy, Josh Jepson. He used to make these discussion videos, and back in those days, you could make video responses to someone's YouTube video, and it would like be on the video underneath it. And so I would make video responses to his discussions videos where we would talk about like what your favorite Pokemon game was or Zelda game or something like that. And those were fun for me to do. And someone saw that video that I had made, one of the responses to Josh Jepson's, and commented under it. And that person was John Johnson Let's Plays. He was another Let's Player from Mississippi. He was right about my age. And he was playing through, gosh, at the time, Paper Mario, I want to say? I don't remember. But we had a lot in common. Like, we liked the same kind of games. We liked the same content creators. And so we started to hang out and talk. Well, actually, no, we didn't. We just started to, like, follow each other on Twitter and, you know, comment on each other's YouTube videos and stuff like that. But that was that. And that was, like, the first friend that I made on the internet as a Let's Player was John Johnson. Still a good friend today. So by now, my college career had wound down. I've graduated, and I accepted a position in Zephyr Hills, Florida, which is a retirement town. It's literally a town that was founded as a retirement community for Civil War veterans. It was a small town, and my job in this retirement town was to build a youth program. And that was easier said than done. But I was up to the challenge. I accepted the position. I got married on October 13th of 2013. And then that night, we left our wedding reception with our car packed up full of stuff. We had a 2004 Ford Taurus. 2002 Ford Taurus, that's what it was. It was an old car. I had to rebuild the radiator right before we moved. That was a fun time. But we drove it all the way down to Zephyr Hills, Florida. Well, actually, we drove all the way to Naples, Florida. That's where we honeymooned, which was the plan before we even knew I was working down there, because our friends had a condo down there that they let us use. So like free honeymoon because we were poor. We're still poor, but you know. So we drove all the way to Naples, we honeymooned, and then we drove a little north back to Zephyr Hills, where I started my position as a full-time youth pastor at a church down there. And so at this point, I'm living the dream. I have my own apartment, I'm married, I've got a full-time job that I love, and it also allowed me to keep making my video content, and I loved that. And at this point, me and my buddy John had started to dabble in live streaming on Twitch. With my MacBook Pro, that was easier said than done. Back in the day, programs like OBS, XSplit, things like that did not work on a Mac. They weren't built for Mac. So I had to use Flash Media Live Encoder on my MacBook Pro, which Google it sometime. It's a nightmare of a system and a program, and how anything ever worked on that. I had to have all this third-party software to get my audio working correctly. It was awful. And I finally successfully did my first live stream of Super Meat Boy on a date that I don't remember. Everyone always remembers their Twitch anniversary. I have no idea when it was. It would have been probably around November of 2013 if I had to guess. I don't know. But John Johnson had a PC, and it was a lot easier for him to stream. So he would stream games like Team Fortress 2 or Majora's Mask or something like that, and I would hop in a Skype call with him. And the first time he and I ever actually spoke, like actual words to each other, was on one of his live streams. And through him, I met a lot of other friends, like that community, through, me streaming on my channel, him streaming on his channel. We kind of had the same community of viewers. I met another lifelong friend, Zeronium, through that, and someone who still hangs around my Discord this day, Squeaku. Not always been her name. She recently changed that. But, been around since almost the beginning, and that community just grew. Through John, I met another lifelong friend who was one of his IRL friends, Matt Lane, 2-Bit Lane, someone that I would later go on to create a podcast with and all this stuff. And just like my circle of friendship was growing, and I was very happy. And my wife was really pushing me and challenging me to stream more, because we would sit around and we would watch live streamers. We would watch speed runs, we would watch casual playthroughs, we'd watch talk shows. And she's like, this is what you want to do. I think that you need to do this more. And so I took my tax return that year and I bought a $500 PC, which is actually sitting right there. It's just off camera. It's like right there. And it was the same PC that John had. I remember that he bought a new PC and he was like, dude, this thing's pretty solid. So I was like, all right, I'll buy the same thing. It was like a $500 PC. And that changed the game for me. That allowed me to edit more YouTube videos. At this point, I was Let's Playing Skyward Sword, The Legend of Zelda Skyward Sword, on my Wii U. It's a Wii game, but I was playing it on my Wii U. And I started live streaming regularly, as often as I could. And I would stream everything. We had a Minecraft world we were playing in, I'd stream that. I remember very vividly streaming Banjo-Tooie, because that's one of my favorite video games. I streamed Banjo-Tooie, and that was the first time I had a viewer show up that I didn't know who they were. Because a lot of the times my viewers would be friends of mine, Fraser, John, my friend Mike. But I had someone show up that I did not know who they were, and they watched me play through most of Banjo-Tooie, and I never saw them again. Shoutouts to Clown Balloons. I will never forget you. And so I really started to focus on live streaming and YouTubing and all this stuff, as I had the time with, my full-time job allowed me to come home and work on these creative things. I also got to use my creative video vision to work at the church that I was working in. I would make bumper videos, announcement videos, promotion videos, things like that. And I had a good time. And then after a year, I was laid off from the church. They wanted to move in a different direction. And so that was kind of a blow. And we decided that we couldn't live in Florida anymore. And we had to move back home. And it was kind of a sucky time. This was when I was probably at my lowest that I had been in a long time. I'd been laid off. I had to move back in with my mom. I'm a married man living with my mom. Because I'm living with my mom and my brother and sister lived there too, I couldn't stream. I couldn't record. I couldn't produce video content for about 3 months. This was 2014, like fall of 2014, September, October, November, December. Finally in January, we were financially stable enough. My wife was managing, well, she wasn't managing it yet, but she was working at a Chick-fil-A, and I was working at a Subway next door to each other inside the Burlington Mall in Burlington, Massachusetts. The jobs were awful. The pay wasn't bad, because B had worked at a Chick-fil-A through college and I had worked at a Subway through college. So we basically walked in there and said, hey, we already know how to do these jobs. If you pay us well, we'll show up and we'll rock the house for you. And that's what happened. I mean, the pay wasn't great, but it was more than minimum wage, and that's what we needed at the time. So we were able to save up enough money to get a crappy 2-bedroom apartment, a 700 square foot apartment in Lowell, Massachusetts. And that's where we would call home for 6 years. Not long after moving into that apartment, PAX East rolled around. This is PAX East 2015 at this. No, wait, hang on. Yeah, PAX East 2015. And this was the first time that I would ever meet one of my online friends. Some of my online friends. My buddy John and his wife Christina, as well as Zeronium, my buddy Fraser, would fly up or down, depending on who you ask, to Boston, Massachusetts, and we hung out for about a week and went to PAX East. I had been to PAX East before. I had gone the year before I got married, 2013, and had a great time. They had never been to a convention, or at least not one of that scale, and they had never been to Massachusetts either. So we showed them around. We had a great time. We were all extremely poor. And I don't know about my friends, but it took me months to financially recover from going to PAX East, eating out as often as we did, you know, things like that. It was nuts. But it was a great time, and one that I'll cherish forever. We actually met another viewer there too, Mr. Pikatoad, a viewer. He was someone that would hang out in all of our Twitch streams and stuff and comment on our YouTube videos and watch them. Became a friend, and he met us there as well. But John and Christina and Fraser actually slept at my apartment, my tiny, tiny apartment. It wasn't comfortable, but we made it work, you know? So at this point, we were kind of just in a routine. Like, we worked at Subway and Chick-fil-A. We both kind of evolved into management positions there, which paid us better. And I was able to focus on creating the content I wanted to create. And this is about the time when I would create Crosspad Gaming. So Crosspad Gaming was an attempt of mine to mix my passion for Bible teaching with gaming and video production. I spent weeks, months on one video, and it was a Crosspad Gaming episode where I talk about freemium video games and, you know, the price to get into heaven or lack thereof. And I loved it. I will still go back and watch that video from time to time. That video is still live on my channel. If you go back and try to look up Let's Jay's Peasant's Quest, you won't find it. But if you go back and try to find Crosspad Gaming, that you will find. I'm proud of those videos. I worked hard. My friends helped. And it was just an absolute great time. At this point, I was happy with where I was at. You know, I started to amass a little bit of a following. You know, my videos, my YouTube videos never did well on my whole Let's Play arc. You know, at this point, I was like Let's Playing Banjo-Tooie. And no video that I uploaded ever did better than a handful of views. I'm talking between 7 to 20, you know, like just a handful. But I was okay. I wasn't doing it for the views. I wasn't doing it to get famous. I was doing it because I loved it. Because I enjoyed making that content, because it gave me a reason to play some of my favorite games, and it let me express myself in a way that I had not been allowed to growing up or ever before. And again, much of this was pushed by my wife. You know, she saw how happy this was, and she would support me and allow me to get new equipment and, you know, really pursue this dream of mine to create this content that would leave some sort of mark or some sort of impression on the world or something. I don't really know, really, at that point, why I was doing what I was doing. But by that point, I was putting a lot more focus on Twitch and live streaming than I was on YouTube. Banjo-Tooie would actually be the last Let's Play, traditional Let's Play that I ever created. And that was back in 2014, 2015 or something. 2015, it must have been 2015. That was back in 2015. Or maybe 2016. I'd have to go back and check the dates. But it was, you know, 6-7 years ago that I stopped creating episodic Let's Plays of like, this is part 1 of Let's Play Banjo-Tooie, and tune in tomorrow for part 2, you know? Because I started to see it as more of a chore than a expression of creativity. This is also largely to do because I had discovered that I had a lot more fun streaming, live streaming on Twitch. And then that's about the time where YouTube Gaming launched. And so I jumped on YouTube Gaming. I started live streaming exclusively on YouTube for a while. A lot of people don't know that, but there was probably a 2-year period where I didn't stream a single thing on Twitch. Not a single thing. Everything was on YouTube. I figured, let's get in on this new thing. All my content can be in one place. I don't have to. Because a lot of times what streamers would do is they would stream something on Twitch and then download it and upload it onto their YouTube channel, because Twitch's VOD watching service has always been lackluster. So this was like a way that I can just, I'll just stream it on YouTube and then it's just there. It's just on YouTube. It's done. It just saves it. It's there. So I was doing Fallout 4. I was doing GTA 5. I was doing Final Fantasy 7. And we never stopped doing things like Team Fortress 2 and stuff like that, you know, Prop Hunt. And I loved all of it. I had a great time doing it. And I don't really know what happened, but I kind of just stopped for a while. It was, I don't know, probably about a 3-month period in 2015, 2016, where I just wasn't creating any content. You know, I would hang out at my friends' streams. I'd still join their Skype calls. And this is back in the day, like Discord makes it easy, man. You just find a public server, you jump in it, or you just create a call or whatever the heck. In Skype, man, back in those days, y'all don't know how good you have it. You would have to, so if I was streaming, I would not want to host the call because all the bandwidth would be used on my end, and I couldn't host a call and stream at the same time because internet speeds weren't what they used to be either. So I would get John to host the call. He would call me. And then he would have to create a 3-way call with like Fraser or something like that or something. And it just got to be this whole thing, you know? And it was such a mess. It was around that time though that like John didn't have internet for a good chunk of time. And so he was just not able to be around with us. He moved into a house that like didn't support internet. The South is wild.
10 years online creating content. Bravo, Jay. Congrats on that. That's an amazing accomplishment. Congrats on the milestone. You know, I can't even think to where to start, you know, whether it's Splatterday morning or your Fortnite streams, or even years ago when you're doing those late night Dark Souls streams. One of my favorite moments was when you were doing a Dark Souls stream and me and my buddy Bob did the $5 donos to jump scare you, and it got you good. Hope those $10 paid off, because those are priceless reactions. You know, I just want to say congrats. You've had a ton of good moments so far in your career. You're gonna have even more in these next 10 years. So, congrats, GG's. Let's keep it going. I feel like I have to give you this belt because you are the champ, dude. Congrats. And before we go, I just gotta say one last thing. Make it a great day or not, the choice is yours.
So I guess fast forward a 3-month or so period where I wasn't creating any content. And again, I don't really know the reason. I just stopped. I think I was so overwhelmed because I was working, I was managing a Subway. I think it was the holiday season. I was still doing church work, which took up a lot of my time. And we just said, nah, forget it, we don't need to do this, you know? So we were just focusing on living, you know? My wife and I were very happy in our still living in the same apartment that we'd been in since 2015. You know, we lived in that apartment until 2020. We lived in that apartment through most of COVID. But we're getting ahead of ourselves here a little bit. Eventually I would end up back on Twitch, live streaming and using Twitch to create content to supplement over to YouTube. Which basically meant I would take a 3-hour live stream and cut it up into 15-minute segments and throw it on YouTube every day, you know? So by the time 2016 rolled around, my wife and I both had new jobs. She was a surgical assistant. I was an ortho lab tech. We had bought a new car. We were living large. That's when I was doing Banjo-Tooie. I remember that now, because I filmed the trailer for Banjo-Tooie in my new car. I remember that. That would have been February of 2016. Yeah. Because I bought that new car and then moved on to my new job like 5 months later, which was June. You know, by then life was pretty good. You know, we were living in an apartment that was kind of below our means. We struggled for a good long time. I mean, B and I have had many seasons of struggle in our marriage financially, where we just really struggled to get by. When I was laid off in Florida, we would eat a meal every 2 days, you know. We didn't have any money, you know. And when we lived, I'll never forget, there was a time where I was working at the mall. It was Christmas time, and my rent check bounced. And when that happens, so it was withdrawn electronically. And so when your rent check, they would try to withdraw the rent from my bank account, and it wasn't there. And they said, let me try that again. So now there's 2 transactions of them trying to pull out. Rent at that place was, gosh, I don't remember how much it was, but $1,400. And so now all of a sudden my bank account is at negative $2,800 because they tried to withdraw it twice and it bounced, and we panicked, and it was awful. And we were basically, our bank account was kind of shut off for like 2 or 3 days, where we just didn't have any money and couldn't do anything until they were like, you need to pay us rent. And we were like, yep, sorry, we went a little hard on Christmas, you know. I've always loved Christmas. You can kind of see my Christmas tree behind me. Always love the Christmas season. Always will. And we went a little too hard on it, and that caused our rent check to bounce. But anyway, by 2016, we were feeling good. We both had really good paying jobs. We had a new truck. And because we were living in an apartment that, I mean, $1,400 sounds like a lot, but like, you know, we were able to make that work. And we were living large, you know. we were having a good time. I was streaming again. And by this point, Splatoon for the Wii U had come out, and I loved that game. I streamed that game a lot. There's still, if you look really closely at my Twitch channel, you can go back and you can find footage of me doing the Twitch beta, the Splatoon beta, like the global test fire for Splatoon 1, me doing some Splat Fests, birthday streams where I played some Splatoon 1. I loved that game. I had a ton of fun. And then, you know, when the Nintendo Switch came out and Splatoon 2 came out, we moved over to that game, and that's when we like turned a page. There are page turns in my career on the internet that I think about a lot. And one of them was when I Let's Played Mario and Luigi Superstar Saga. That's when I figured out that being a Let's Player was more than just babbling into a microphone while you play a video game. You had to be entertaining. And so there's a point, I remember it vividly. I don't remember what the number episode is. It's like episode 18 or something like that. And not that you can find it anyway. I've privated all these videos. But I had taken a break from recording because I had some technical issues and had to like replay the game to catch up or something like that. And during that time, I found a new inspiration on Let's Playing and recording and stuff like that that changed the way I approached my content. And so there's a point halfway through one episode where you can like hear me change. And I think I become a little more entertaining. But Splatoon turned a page for us from a live streaming standpoint. That's when I started to grow a community. I started to focus less on me being on a stage playing a game for you guys all to watch, and more, let's build a community together where we get to know each other, we hang out together, we talk together, we play games together. And I loved that. And I was doing some cool stuff with my friends. You know, we would race through Mario 64 or Super Mario Odyssey when that game came out. It was just a great time, man. I'll never forget those times.
I've known Jay for a good 6 years now, and I'm happy to say that he's one of my best friends at this point. He's always been a super supportive friend and is a great dude to chat with. It's a treat whenever I get to play games with Jay, which is why some of my fondest memories from his streams have been times where we were doing races or playing co-op games together.
Bully, no!
Bully, yes. Kill him, Bully.
What is this? Bully is an edgelord. Holy cow!
I don't know for sure.
Oh my god! Oh my gosh! That bully is an edgelord.
I don't know for sure, but I feel like I'm.
Oh, I died.
Happy 10 years of content creation, Jay.
So for a while, things just kind of carried on that way. I would stream Splatoon 3 or 4 times a week, maybe shake the games up a little bit. I didn't want to be known as a Splatoon content creator. I wanted to be a variety streamer. So I really pushed hard at playing more than just one game. And it was always discouraging because I would go live with Splatoon and have a whole bunch of viewers, and then I'd play something else and have no viewers. And it was like, why? I didn't understand why I couldn't get my Splatoon viewers to stick around for the other content I was creating. Because I kind of misunderstood what Twitch was at that point. Twitch had changed. When I started on Twitch, you had viewers, and those viewers were your viewers, and they would watch you, and they had your back, and they were ride or die, and they would, they'd hang out with you no matter what you were playing. But Twitch had changed over the years to being, no, you have Splatoon viewers, you have Pokemon viewers, you have Call of Duty viewers, you have, Overwatch viewers, all this stuff, and they don't mix. Very rarely will you get, like you have your genuine fans of the channel that will show up to whatever you watch, whatever you stream, and they'll watch anything because they want to be there for you. But those viewers are fewer and further in between. So I started to get angry at that, and I started to, purposely try to diversify my portfolio, and I was almost bitter at my viewers who wouldn't show up to watch me play anything else. I was like, come on, you love hanging out here while I play Splatoon. Why don't you show up for Pokemon? As I started to understand Twitch better, I started to create better content for the platform. As any content creator will tell you, you have to play the algorithm, so I started to learn the algorithm and figure it out. I think I was a little too late to that, but it's whatever. And again, I wasn't doing this to try to get famous. I was doing this because I enjoy doing this. It's always been a hobby to me. And yes, there were times where I was like, man, this could be a job. But it's whatever. By this point, I had made affiliate, so I was making money. When the affiliate program first rolled out early on in my Splatoon 2 career, I was pre-qualified. They were like, hey, here's the things you have to meet to become an affiliate. And I was like, I already meet those requirements. They were like, yep, you do. Congratulations. You're an affiliate. I was one of the first affiliates on the platform. And that allowed me to have subscribers and to make money through bits and stuff like that. And so now I was making money playing video games. It was wild to me. I had made money on YouTube in the past. I had signed with some MCNs, multi-channel networks, which were basically almost like agents. They would basically run ads on your channel so that you could get paid, and then they would take a cut. And because I was a small channel, still a small channel, the cut was bad. In my entire YouTube career, on ad revenue, I have made about $2.30 over the last decade. Because there was only a small window where I ever monetized my channel, and channel didn't get a lot of views, so it made about $2, and I never claimed that $2. That's still technically probably sitting in an account somewhere, like an AdSense account or something like that. It's probably gone. I don't know. I don't care. But it's just funny that way, But on Twitch, I was regularly I would end a stream and I'd walk up to my wife and be like, I made $10 today. Like just today, $10, And she'd get all excited about it. Like, hey, congratulations, sweetie. And I'm like, yeah, thanks. And it still blows my mind. I'll end stream, and whenever you end a stream, you get an email from Twitch that shows like how you did that day. And it shows like, this is how much money you made today. And I'm like, this is baffling to me. And I've always appreciated that part of it. I don't take that lightly. I never have. But that allowed me to pour money back into my setup. And so I built a new PC. I bought a new monitor. I got new lights. This microphone, actually, this was a gift from my mother-in-law. But you know, a Go XLR, things like that. Are all thanks to you guys for supporting the channel. You know, it's allowed me to create what I want to create, and I think that this crappy blurry background is making me want to invest money into a better video engine for that, but we'll cross that bridge when we get there.
I think a favorite memory for me is just playing Splatoon, and yeah, that's actually a lot of it. But I remember that video where you were in Yub's game and it was cut in between the POVs. That was pretty cool. I like that video. Here's the 10 more years. I don't know, man.
So I guess the next big chapter of my stream would be COVID. 2020 hit. I remember it vividly because I had left my position at my church in May of 2019. After a decade there, I started in 2008, 2009. 2009 was when I took over working at that church, and besides my 1 year in Florida, I had worked at that church for 10 years. And after 10 years there, I walked away. I said, I think I feel God pulling me in a different direction. Internet-based live streaming ministry, I think, is where I feel called. And so I focused on that. My Twitch stream, I had always wanted to keep my religion out of my live streaming. You know, my relationship with Jesus was personal, and I didn't want anyone to feel awkward, and I didn't, you know, so I kept them separate. But in 2019, I was like, this is a major part of who I am, and I think people have some legitimate questions and could have some actual conversations about this. So I didn't like start doing Bible studies. Actually, I did do Bible studies on my stream for a while. Saturday mornings, we used to do Bible studies. But, you know, for the most part, not a whole lot changed. I just stopped. If people would ask questions in the past about religion, I would shake it off. But now I engage that kind of stuff, you know? So I started working really hard on this internet-based live streaming ministry stuff. And in February of 2020, I'm pretty sure we all remember what happened. The world, shut down. It just ended. I remember I came home from work one day, and a bunch of church friends that I have, you know, when you work for a church, you know the staff of all of the churches around you, you know. So we all kind of work together. There's not competition in churches. It's not like a Starbucks versus a mom and pop coffee shop thing. You know, we all love each other and work together for the most part, you know. And a lot of people were talking about, you know, hey, we need to start live streaming the church service because I think they're going to shut down gatherings of people. And even if the government hasn't shut it down yet, a lot of people are uncomfortable meeting in large groups like this because this COVID thing is really starting to pick up. And so a lot of churches suddenly needed to learn how to live stream. And here I was ready built with a passion for live streaming. And so I helped a lot of my local churches. You know, they were like, what do I need for equipment? There was even one church that I showed up at, and I was like, here's everything you need, you know, get it going, and helped them out or whatever. Monadnock, which was the camp that I met my wife at. It's a kids camp up in New Hampshire. I say up in New Hampshire. It's where I'm at now. But it's up in the mountains of New Hampshire. They had to shut down because you can't have hundreds of kids running around together when COVID is on the loose. And so they were like, we need to create content so that we can keep people engaged in our ministry and all this stuff. And so we actually got sponsored by them. I was helping them set up their own Twitch page, and they were like, look, instead of starting from scratch, why don't we just host events on your Twitch page? And I was like, that's great. And so that was awesome. COVID was definitely a chapter for my stream. I remember coming home from work one day, and I put out on Facebook, like, hey, if anyone needs help setting up a live stream, here I am. I will help you. I don't need money. We haven't been laid off yet. A lot of my friends have been laid off. I was like, you know, me and B are still working. We're good. And then later that day, I got a phone call from my boss saying, hey, don't come back to work tomorrow. So we had been laid off, furloughed technically, which means we weren't being paid by our company anymore. we had to collect unemployment. God, that word was hard to come up with in my head. We had to collect unemployment from the government. And this was before there was any programs put in place. And so you were getting paid like a third of your salary. So B and I, we sat down and looked at our finances and we're like, look, we have enough money to survive for maybe 3 weeks. After that, we're out. Like we just don't have money. I called my landlord and said, hey, my wife and I both just got furloughed. This was the same apartment, same crappy 700 square foot apartment in Lowell, Massachusetts. And, you know, we both just got furloughed. We don't have any money coming in. We applied for unemployment, but so did everyone else. And we don't know what's going on yet. And they said, wow, that's crazy. Rent is due on the 1st. You know, our electric company called us and said, hey, we get it. If you can't make the payment, don't worry about it. We'll keep your lights on. We'll figure it out later. All the other utilities, the internet, you know, Comcast was our internet provider at the time. And they were like, look, we're not going to turn your internet off. We know a lot of people need to work from home, all this other stuff. So, you know, pay us when you can. But our landlord was just like, nope, rent's due on the 1st. Frick you. So we got nervous. And so I did the only thing I knew how to do at that point, which was I turned into a full-time live streamer. 5 days a week, 9 to 5. I was live on Twitch. And this was right when Animal Crossing came out. Animal Crossing New Horizons. And so we kind of had a schedule down where first thing in the morning, we would play Animal Crossing for like 3 hours or so. And then we'd swap over to another game for the last little bit. And a lot of times that was Splatoon. We played through Skyrim. I don't even remember what all we did. God of War, the 2018 God of War. I finished that during COVID. And I saw something during COVID that I didn't expect. My viewership went through the roof. And I think a lot of that has to do with the fact that no one had school, no one had work, and everyone was just around hanging on the internet. And I just provided a place to escape all the craziness and the chaos. My viewership never got back as high. COVID was peak Twitch viewership for me. I was averaging 20 viewers per stream, often getting into the 30s, you know, and I'm about half that these days. Sometimes I can get back up that high depending on, you know, the day of the week, the season, whatever, but I never soared as high as my numbers did on COVID, and it was kind of a blessing in disguise. It was nice because you were making all this money, but it was also like, haha, people are dying. It was a very rough time, and so that money was nice to have that coming in, and then of course the government assistance came in with the extra $600 every week. Allowed us to live and live well. We were actually making more money on unemployment than we were at our jobs because you were getting paid basically 1/3 of your salary plus $600 a week. So it was good money. And I was having a good time streaming, but at the same time, B and I were cramped in our little tiny 700 square foot apartment, you know, and we did not leave that apartment for 2 months. We had our groceries delivered to us by my brother, very generous of him, because he worked at a grocery store. And so he would do all our shopping for us and drop it off at our apartment so that we didn't have to go out. And, you know, we would still go out and get some groceries and stuff like that, you know, because he would only come like every other week or something like that. But for the, like, you know, you couldn't go to the movies, you couldn't go bowling, you couldn't, you know, it was winter, it was February, so you couldn't like go for a walk. It was freezing cold. And so we just sat around. And so like depression was a huge thing, you know, obviously, that I'm not sure we've still recovered from as a society. But eventually in April, 2 months and a day to the day, I think we got furloughed in March. No, it was February. So yeah, it was like 2 months and 1 day to the day we got furloughed. My boss called me and said, hey, do you feel comfortable coming back to work? It's a skeleton crew. I'm not inviting everyone back yet. But you know, I need you here. And I said, yeah, I'll be there tomorrow. And I got that call in the middle of a live stream. And so I came back to my live stream and said, hey, this is the last one. This is the last day that I'm streaming here full time. And We had a little bit of a party. During that time, we hit 2 major goals. I don't remember what it was. One of them was 1,000 followers on Twitch. We hit that during COVID, and we did a 12-hour live stream for that as a celebration. And then something else happened that I did another 12-hour live stream for, that like we hit another milestone. I don't know what it was. Maybe it was just a sub goal or something. But that was kind of the end of it, was that last 12-hour stream, just kind of being like, hey, here's the party, we're out, you know? And from there, not long after we went back to work, my mom called me and said, hey, I'm moving. Where I'm leaving this house, my childhood house, you know, my childhood house, my mom is leaving it, and said, I'm moving about an hour and a half away, but I don't want to sell the house. Do you want to rent my house from me? And she allowed me to pay way less than the house was worth per month, which was a huge blessing to us. And we had this nice big house that we could live in. I had my own office, which I miss dearly, but I you know, it is what it is. We lived there for 2 years. And in those 2 years, you know, Among Us came and went, friends came and went. It was just, that whole time was a blur, because half of it was under COVID. We moved in December of 2020. That was before the vaccines existed. Or before we were eligible. Most people were eligible for vaccines. And so we were still very much living under COVID. And just kind of rocking it, you know? Playing Splatoon, playing Among Us, playing all these games, and having a blast with it with my friends. You know, artists had kind of joined the crew by that point. My friendship crew had expanded with, you know, Retro Underground and SJ and AJ and Lava Burner and Calico and Randy, and just there's all these, you know, friends and viewers coming and going, and I loved what I was doing. I still do, and not much has changed since then. We bought our own house. My mom told me about 9 months after we moved in, she said, hey, I want to sell this house. And we were like, okay. So we saved up a ton of money very quickly, as fast as we could, called in some favors. You guys helped. And we bought this house I'm in now, which I don't have my own office anymore. This is my basement. You know, B's desk is there, Christmas tree. That's our couch where we watch TV. It's kind of our living room, you know? And I love it here. I'm very happy here. I'm very excited for the future. You know, if when I think back on the last 10 years, I don't know what I expected. I had goals in mind, and those goals have changed over the years. We're closing in on 2,000 followers on Twitch. We're closing in on 500 subscribers here on YouTube. By the time this video goes up, we actually may have hit that number. I don't even know. But I'm happy, you know? I really do want to put a heavy focus on YouTube next year. Nothing's going to change over on Twitch. But the big thing that is changing is my wife and I are going to have a baby. Due July 4th, 2023. That's going to change my life. Being a homeowner has changed my life, but being a dad is going to steer me in a whole different direction. And we're very excited about that, but we're, you know, also nervous. And so I don't know where my content's going to go for the next year. I don't know where we're going to be at a year from now, but we're going to meet it together. You know, you all and me. And so at this point in the video, I just kind of want to say thank you to anyone and everyone who's ever watched a second of my content, whether it be a YouTube video, a live stream from 7 years ago, maybe you've made every live stream for the last 6 years, you comment on my videos, my TikToks, whatever the heck. Thank you. Genuinely thank you, because this is a hobby of mine, and the fact that other people are interested in it and help make it interesting for me, I appreciate greatly. I really, really do. I am always humbled at the fact that someone wants to watch me play a game. That people will come and hang out and just watch me play a video game, or play a video game with me, you know? My friends over in the Roar Discord, you know? Too many to name, and I was gonna start naming them, you know, but I don't want to miss anyone. I love each and every one of you, and I appreciate you all having my back. You know, members of the squad, me, Matt, Retro, AJ, SJ, Calico, Lava Burner, Stormer. I love you all. I appreciate you all. Thank you for having my back. To my mods, Calico, Artist, and Randy, the three main mods over on Twitch. You guys, I couldn't do it without you. You guys help keep the order. You know, making sure that everyone feels loved and welcomed when they come in, if they're new. Helping keep the rabble in line when we get some rabble. And really just deleting the bots as they come through. Appreciate all of you guys. To all the friends that I've made streaming, too many to name. There's just been too many to name over the last 10 years, and some have come and some have gone. And whether you've been around for 10 years or a couple of weeks, thank you for your friendship. Thank you for, you know, creating content with me or being in my streams or watching my videos. I love you. I appreciate you. To my incredible wife, thank you for getting me started on this journey. I would not be here today if it wasn't for her pushing me to follow my creative side and encouraging me and supporting me. Thank you for carrying our baby. It's been a rough couple of months. You know, she's currently, as I record this, she is laying in bed sick because this pregnancy is absolutely destroying her and she feels very sick. And it's been a hard testing couple of months of this. This has been our life, you know, and supposedly it's going to get better real soon. That's what we hope, that's what we pray for. But she's an incredible woman, and I couldn't do what I do without you. So thank you. To my unborn child, I can't wait to meet you in July. You're going to ruin my life, and I'm going to love every minute of it. I hope you all out there know that you are loved by me, you are loved by God, and there's nothing you can do to change either one of those facts. You're just loved. I'm sure I missed a bunch of things. I'm sure someone's sitting there like, how come I didn't get a shout out? I'm sorry. Genuinely, I don't not mean it. But I think I've rambled long enough. 10 years is a long time to be on the internet. And I've been through seasons of up and of down, even very recently. But overall, I'm the happiest I think I've ever been right now at this moment. I think that having the friends that I have, being able to express myself creatively the way I do, having a place that I can call my home with my family that's growing every day, I think I'm the happiest that I've been in a long time, and God is good for that. You know, God is good in the bad times, and God's good in the good times. And I'm grateful that He is who He is. And so I'm out. Thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.